Carmelo Anthony announced his official retirement at the end of this season, and after 19 seasons in the NBA, it's sad to say that Carmelo Anthony had a disappointing career. Now obviously, compared to a big majority of NBA players, Melo had a very successful career. He achieved things 90% of players will never even come close to. He was a 10-time All-Star, the 9th highest all-time leading scorer, a 3-time Olympic gold medalist, and he had plenty of other accomplishments. But Carmelo Anthony is also one of the biggest underachievers we have ever seen. So how did this happen? Well, today I'm going to go through Carmelo Anthony's entire career and really dissect how his time with the NBA went and how he had a disappointing career. Carmelo Anthony was in the same draft class as LeBron James and Dwayne Wade, and he was selected 3rd overall in the 2003 draft by the Denver Nuggets. Melo had a solid rookie year for the Nuggets and finished 2nd in Rookie of the Year voting, losing to LeBron James, who had one of the best rookie seasons we've ever seen. Before Melo was drafted by the Nuggets, they were an absolute laughingstock across the NBA. In the season before he was drafted, Denver won 17 games and they were the worst team in the NBA. Then a rookie Carmelo Anthony turned the whole team around and they finished the season with 43 wins. He averaged 21 points a game, which is more than any other rookie at the time. They even made it to the playoffs as the 8th seed. They would lose to the Minnesota Timberwolves in 5 games, but this showed the potential that Carmelo Anthony had. The Nuggets had an overall solid roster, but Melo was obviously the best scorer, and the offense ran through him for the most part. This would end up being a big part of Carmelo Anthony's issues as a basketball player. They had the Defensive Player of the Year in Marcus Camby on the team, and they had other solid defenders, so Melo got used to not playing as good of defense as he should have been. For the next 2 seasons, Melo would continue to put up great scoring numbers, and they would lose in the first round of the playoffs 2 years straight. In the 2005-2006 season, they were the 3rd seed in the West, and they seemed like they had a lot of potential. And they would still lose in 5 games to the 6th seed Los Angeles Clippers. It was obvious that Melo wasn't going to be able to win on his own, so in December of 2006, the Nuggets made a blockbuster trade for Allen Iverson. Iverson had played for the 76ers for 10 years, and after multiple problems with the 76ers front office, he was traded and teamed up with Carmelo Anthony. They would both have good individual stats, but they were both extremely ball-dominant players and they did not play winning basketball. They would end up as the 6th seed, and again they lost in the first round of the playoffs. People still had confidence in the duo of Allen Iverson and Carmelo Anthony, and the Nuggets decided to keep the same roster for 1 more year. They would barely make the playoffs, becoming the 8th seed in the Western Conference, and they were matched up against the Lakers in the first round. And for the 5th straight year, Carmelo Anthony would lose in the first round. They got swept by the Lakers, and this would end up being the end of Allen Iverson's run with the Nuggets. He was traded at the beginning of the 2008 season to the Detroit Pistons, and the Nuggets got a very experienced winning point guard in Chauncey Billups. Chauncey was a great facilitator, and he was a big part in helping the Pistons win a championship and make it to multiple finals, so this was great for the Nuggets. Carmelo would take a step back, and the Nuggets played more of a team game. They ended up being the number 2 seed, and for the first time in Carmelo Anthony's career, he made it out of the first round. They would make it to the Western Conference Finals and matched up against Kobe Bryant and the Los Angeles Lakers. And this is when Carmelo Anthony's real issues got exposed. Even though Melo averaged 27 points, he barely shot over 40% for the series and shot 25% from 3. Just listen to how Chauncey Billups described Melo's mindset.
Scoring 30 meant too much to Melo. It meant too much because he could have games where he had 20, 22, we win the game and he's mad. He might have 36 and he's in there, we lose the game and he's in there picking everybody up. Scoring 30 meant too much.
By LeBron's 4th season in the NBA, he carried a team as bad as the Cavaliers to their first ever finals. And Dwayne Wade already won Miami a championship. LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Carmelo Anthony were considered the 3 top prospects of the 2003 draft, besides Darko Milicic. And when comparing their careers at the time, he debatably had more help than LeBron and still failed over and over again. The Nuggets would pretty much keep the same lineup they had before, and Melo went back to his usual routine of losing in the first round. They matched up against the Utah Jazz in the first round and lost in 6 games. And after another first round exit, Melo decided he was done with the Denver Nuggets and demanded a trade. At the time, the Nuggets refused because Melo was their star player and they viewed him as an untouchable asset. He then threatened to not play games if they didn't trade him. At this time, LeBron had just lost again in the playoffs, so LeBron James decided he was going to build a super team in Miami with Dwayne Wade, and originally they wanted the other top star of the 2003 draft to join them. Yes, the potential big three of the Miami Heat could have been LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Carmelo Anthony. Melo was stuck in a 5-year deal he signed with the Denver Nuggets, and his contract didn't have a opt-out clause at any point. If it would have been structured with a opt-out clause, Melo could have had the option to opt out and become a free agent in 2010 and join the super team in Miami. But he didn't, and he was stuck demanding a trade in Denver. He ended up getting traded to the New York Knicks at the 2011 trade deadline, and this felt like a new beginning for Carmelo Anthony. And when we all thought this was Carmelo Anthony's time to prove himself as a star player and finally get past the first round, we all quickly realized Melo was not going to change. He was stuck in his ways of not playing defense and making the offense run through him with very below average shooting percentages. The Knicks would match up against the Boston Celtics in the first round, and surprise surprise, they got swept in the first round. The next season they somehow regressed and went from the 6th seed to the 7th seed. They went against the LeBron-led Miami Heat in the first round, and I'm sure by now you know exactly what happened. They lost in 5 games in the first round. At this point, Carmelo Anthony had played 9 NBA seasons, and he made it to the playoffs in every single season. And out of the 9 seasons that he was in the playoffs, he only made it out of the first round 1 time. 8 first round exits in 9 seasons on 2 different teams. The 2012-2013 season looked hopeful for the New York Knicks. They were the 2nd seed in the Eastern Conference, and for the 2nd time in his career, he made it past the first round. They defeated the Boston Celtics in 6 games, and they were matched up against a young Paul George and the Indiana Pacers. Carmelo Anthony actually did not play bad in this series at all. He averaged around 29 points and had decent percentages. And the Knicks actually had a chance to win the series, but the Pacers were amazing this year, and Paul George was playing out of his mind. This was the same team that gave LeBron James and the Miami Heat problems, so I don't fault Melo completely for them losing the series. The Pacers ended up beating them in 6 games, and it was all downhill from this point. In 2014, they would miss the playoffs, and Carmelo Anthony's contract with the Knicks was coming to an end. He was faced with another free agency decision that could have gotten him to a winning team and finally win his first championship. The Chicago Bulls were a team that wanted him, led by a young rising star in Jimmy Butler and a somewhat broken Derrick Rose. The Boston Celtics and the Clippers also showed interest, and all of these teams could have gotten him so much of a better chance at winning, but no, yet again Carmelo Anthony chose the highest bidder and signed a 5-year supermax with the Knicks. I don't blame Carmelo for taking the money, but this move costed him a real shot at winning. He was already 11 seasons in the NBA, and he didn't have that many productive years left. For the next 3 seasons, the Knicks would miss the playoffs every single year, and Melo could care less about winning games. He only focused on his stats looking good with no wins behind them. In the 2017 offseason, the Knicks decided they were done with Carmelo Anthony, and they traded him to the Oklahoma City Thunder. This Thunder team had a lot of potential, led by Russell Westbrook and Paul George. At this time, Carmelo Anthony was a shell of himself and barely contributed to the team. The Thunder were the 4th seed in the West, and again, Carmelo Anthony would lose another series in the first round to the Utah Jazz in 6 games. That summer, the Thunder parted ways with Melo after 1 season, and they traded him to the Houston Rockets. His time with the Rockets was short-lived, and he would get traded from the Rockets just a few months after to the Chicago Bulls. He never ended up playing a game for the Chicago Bulls, and a month after he was traded there, he was waived by Chicago. At this point in time, it truly felt like Carmelo Anthony's time in the NBA had come to an end. No NBA teams wanted to sign him, and he pretty much went the entirety of 2019 out of the NBA. It wouldn't be until November of 2019 when he signed with the Portland Trail Blazers and teamed up with Damian Lillard. He became a solid role player for the Blazers, but in the 2 years he played for them, they lost in the first round both seasons. And in August of 2021, he teamed up with LeBron James and signed with the Los Angeles Lakers. The Lakers would miss the playoffs in 2022, and this would be the last season we would ever watch Carmelo Anthony play. He officially announced his retirement in May of this year, which brings us to today. Carmelo Anthony will go down as one of the best scorers we have ever seen. His scoring ability will always be respected, but Melo severely underachieved in the NBA. In the 19 seasons Carmelo Anthony played, he missed the playoffs 6 times, he made it to the second round once, made it to the third round 1 time, never made it to an NBA Finals, and he lost in the first round of the playoffs 11 times. I know in some situations, all the blame can't go completely on Melo, but he was a big problem majority of the time, and he was never able to truly lead a team, which is why I consider Carmelo Anthony's career very disappointing. Obviously, all respect to Melo. Like I said before, he achieved things 90% of players will never come close to, but compared to other stars, he just did not live up to expectations. Let me know what you guys think. Was Carmelo Anthony's career disappointing? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure to check out my last video where I went back to the day that Kevin Durant joined the Golden State Warriors. But with that being said, thank you all for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next one.